This year, everything changed. I won my first World Series of Poker bracelet, and now I'm taking my game to Paradise to test myself at the highest stakes. The World Series of Poker Paradise is a $60 million guaranteed $25,000 buy-in tournament where the best players in the world go to chase poker glory. But you do not just show up to a major poker tournament and hope to run hot. First, you prepare. And in fact, I've been preparing for this exact spot over the last 20 years. And at World Series of Poker Paradise, I'm gonna be playing one of the biggest tournaments I have ever played. My first Triton Poker tournament, the $100,000 buy-in main event. Any hand can make or break you deep in a tournament, and quite often it can come down to one brutal decision. So, before I fly out to the Bahamas, I am challenging myself and you with many brutal decisions using peak GTO to make sure that I'm ready to go and play against the best players in the world. Because this trip is not a vacation. It is a battle, it is a grind, and it's a chance to push the limits and see how far my skills and preparation can take me. This is the World Series of Poker Paradise, and I'm taking you along with me through the ups, the downs, the highs and the lows as we chase World Series of Poker glory. Let's get to the preparations.
Jonathan Little has been the most successful person in this space by a long shot.
Find a game you can beat, play it a lot, and keep a proper bankroll.
He's brought in so many people to the game and they love his content.
Gotta grind.
Right?
True. What a lot of people get wrong about poker is they think you just show up and play. But what you actually do before you go play is you sit your butt in the chair and you study. I've been doing that for the last year extensively. I've been making a point to study GTO strategies and how to adjust away from them to take advantage of the mistakes my opponents have made a ton. And today, I'm going to show you a typical study session that I would do before I go to play the tournament series. If you think you can just win your seat to Paradise by getting fortunate and then showing up and crushing everybody, you're probably egotistical. You need to devote a lot of time to getting very good at poker. So today, we're gonna study a tricky spot that gives me trouble and may give a lot of you trouble that actually comes up a ton. We're gonna be studying 50 big blinds deep when the cutoff raises and we call on the button. We're using peak GTO, my GTO poker trainer, to go through and study this spot. This is a spot that comes up all the time. And if you mess it up, well, that's not gonna work out well for you at all. Before we do go through the hands, let's familiarize ourselves with the ranges at play. Here is what the cutoff raises, about 36% of hands. Notice they have various offsuit nines. It's always important to consider the offsuit asymmetries. And here is what the button does. Notice the button folds all the offsuit nines for the most part. And they actually don't have very many offsuit tens either because they would have 3-bet those, right? So the calling range doesn't even contain all that many tens. So that's going to result in various flops, especially those containing a 9 being okay for the out of position preflop raiser. But this is a spot where the out of position preflop raiser will check a pretty good amount of the time. You can check that out in the aggregate reports tab in Peak GTO if you feel inclined to go through how to play all flops. This year, Michael Mizrachi won the World Series of Poker Main Event, which is pretty cool. I hear he's going to be at the World Series of Poker Paradise, battling hard against everybody else. I actually have not played with him in quite a while, but we used to play a ton. Let's go for the small bet here because our hand's so good. My most memorable hand with him was in a $25,000 buy-in tournament back when that was about the biggest game in town. And he wrecked me. We were about 3 people off the bubble. He raised off of a big stack. I had ace king with about 25 big blinds in the small blind. I was about to just put it all in, but then I saw the player in the big blind, Antonio Esfandiari, stacking up his chips. I was in the 9 seat. He was in the 1 seat. The dealer was between us, so maybe he wasn't paying attention to me. He was about to put his money all in. So I instead decided to play it slow. I called. Antonio jammed. Mizrachi jammed. I called it off. My ace king was against Antonio's king jack. He was in bad shape. Mizrachi had the queen jack suited. He was in pretty bad shape too. Mizrachi ended up taking 3rd place in that tournament for $424,000. I ended up losing and getting 0. So I have an axe to grind with Mizrachi. I'm going to get in there and I'm going to battle it out and try to win some of that money back. Do we keep betting the turn and how much? Let's go for the medium bet. It's kind of hard to get paid here. I know we would like to go big in general and get stacks in. I understand this concept. I'm tempted to go just 6.2. My brain's saying 6.2, even though my logic is saying 10.3. I'm going to go 10.3. It was a 6.2. This is a weird one because it's just hard for your opponent to call big bets here. right? Now, of course, we jam. It's hard for the opponent to call big bets in this scenario when you bet big on the turn. They just have to have something pretty good. But when you go 6.2, they get to call a decent chunk wider. Let's take a look at that and explore. So on the turn here, notice the pot size is just not used. Typically, on a board where there are 3 to a flush, you just don't use huge bets. Huge being like pot or bigger. Because sometimes you're running into flushes, right? When your opponent has a flush, and when you don't have a flush, that's obviously really, really bad. So if we do look at our hearts, notice we are betting the vast majority of our hearts, right? We are checking them sometimes. So that's cool to see, usually just the best ones. But when we do bet, we are only going 6.2. And so my question is, if we bet 6.2 and get called, and the river's, let's say, an ace, and they check, do we still just rip it in for 40 into the 22 big blind pot, or do we use the pot size bet? And take a look. We actually jam it all in 62% of the time on the river. We're going to use a gigantic overbet. This is the kind of thing you need to be very, very capable of doing if we're playing the $100,000 buy-in tournaments against the best players in the world. So this is a spot where I would have messed up. I would have naturally thought to go a little bit more geometric and bet 10 on the turn than jam the river for about pot, but clearly that was a mistake. I know Negreanu is going to be there video blogging as well. I love his video blogs. If you have not checked them out, check them out. I also have 2 interviews with Negreanu on my YouTube channel. We'll link to those. Those are very good interviews that we did, I think 2 years ago and 4 years ago. It's a lot of fun. He's always a good sport. Last time I played with him, though, he tried to run a savage bluff against me. I was in a $10,000 buy-in tournament early at the final table. I had middle pair. He had nothing. I don't remember the exact line he took, but he tried to bluff me off the middle pair. And I think he thinks that I think that he is tight old man coffee and doesn't run bluffs. But I know he's been studying poker. He works hard. He studies with the kids and all the GTO tools. He knows how to bluff. And I think he actually might overbluff. So I called down with a middle pair and busted him in 6th place. It'd be interesting to see this year if we do play again, if he does try to run any savage bluffs on me or if he learned his lesson. Because for those of you who don't know, Jonathan Little doesn't really like to fold. So here we have cutoff raising. We call the button. It comes ace, king, 7, and they check to us. Now this is a spot where we can probably check it back. Although I could be convinced that we should go ahead and use the big bet. I think we do just want to check this one though, and we are checking 62% of the time. Notice the bigger bet was used the remainder of the time. And when you are studying GTO strategies, realize that the solver is going to give you very mixed frequencies. It's going to say make various plays different frequencies of the time. And I know that I personally err towards being a little bit too cautious. And because I am going to play the $100,000 buy-in Triton tournament, as well as a $50,000 buy-in Triton tournament against many of the best players in the world, as well as the $25,000 buy-in GG Millions, in addition to the main event, I need to make a point to make sure I am hitting aggressive frequencies in spots where I naturally would be tempted just to check it back. Like right here, the pocket 3s on the flop. It's a hand I think I and most people just check it back. And as you see, it's an okay play, right? It's the play that's actually used the most often. But the bet is used some too. So I'm going to try to lean into the bets when I think they should be made, even if they are, slightly lower frequency. So we're going to try to do that as we go through as a method of practice on finding the aggressive lines. When they bet big on the turn, we'll just fold. You may say, why study GTO strategies if you're going to be playing the smaller buy-in games, though? Because the first tournament right off the bat is a $2,500 buy-in mystery bounty tournament. And the reason is because even though the players in the smaller buy-in games will be making more mistakes, you still need to know how to play well in general. If they're making mistakes, but you're making even bigger ones, well, that's obviously not going to work out for you. And also, you need to know GTO strategy so you know where to adjust from and where to adjust back to depending on how things go when you see your opponents make some sort of mistake. King 10-4, should we go for the small or medium bet? I think we can probably go for the medium bet here, although I could be convinced smaller is better. So smaller bet is used more often in the spot, even though check is used some again. We bet big in the spot. I think big bets are underrated. I think a lot of players learn that in general, you can just continuation bet small and it can't be that bad. The thing is when you do use large bets, they actually can be kind of bad. But I'm always trying to think, what am I trying to target, right? On that previous flop, let's just go back here and take a look at it in the session history. This will pull up the spot we just looked at. On the flop, when they check and we bet big, take a look at their strategy on King 10-4. Notice they have to fold out like lower pocket pairs a decent amount of the time, right? Everything else still gets to call. So maybe they actually do play pretty well against the big bet in this spot. What about against the small bet, though? Because notice on the flop, I was going to use the small bet a decent amount of the time as well. If I bet small, they actually have to stick around with a lot of queen high and jack high. So in this scenario, after looking at this range, I actually like the small bet way more because now they have to stick around with hands like pocket fives that has relatively little future, or jack seven. Look, like notice jack seven of clubs actually calls some chunk of the time in GTO world, which like nobody does, right? So definitely note that. Also, something a lot of people do wrong in the opponent's shoes. Notice they use very mixed strategies out of position as well because they don't have a range advantage. We discussed the concepts of range advantage and nut advantage a ton in the pokercoaching.com tournament masterclass that we completely remade recently. Make sure you check that out. This is a spot where a lot of people do mess up by betting all their good hands. So if they bet ace, king, king, queen, king, jack, king 10, king 9 every time, when they check, their range gets far weaker, right? And if their range is far weaker, the small bet's pretty good too because it really forces them to fold out a lot of that weaker range, or at least you can bet the flop and then continue betting the turn. When you are studying using a GTO solver, by the way, don't just like click through and play. Take your time and try to figure out, was my bet good or should I have possibly done something different? And right there, I thought the bigger bet would naturally be a little bit better because it might force them to fold out more hands that have decent equity, but it turns out they just can't fold much of anything in that type of situation on king 10-4 because they have a lot of hands that have equity, like draws. I think we can check it back with the ace high, but maybe bet's okay. Small bet's okay. Okay. Notice we lost a little bit of our ELO rating right here. This is a rating that will go up on your peak GTO account or down if you're not doing so well. They check the turn. Should we bluff now? I don't know. Maybe. Notice again, bets being used. So this is a spot where I know I, Jonathan Little, struggle to find the bluffs. And you need to make a point to make sure that you are finding the bluffs in these scenarios. So I would have played this spot okay. I picked a play that was used some in both situations, but notice it was not the highest frequency play on the flop or the turn. And it was also the passive one, which is what I need to make sure that I'm not naturally leaning into. You may have the opposite problem of being overly aggressive. Who knows? We also actually have a leak finder here. You can go through and take 25 quizzes or take 25 hands, and it will then tell you where you are messing up and will suggest drills for you to go through to master those particular scenarios. So what do we do here with the queen 7 of spades? I think small bet's probably okay. Checking back's probably okay. Check back every time. Again, this is a spot where I was trying to be a little bit aggressive, and it turns out we lost some EV. What I want to know is how much EV did we lose? Do we bluff this now? Maybe. When you take these low frequency lines, GTO sometimes goes into interesting territory where it continues bluffing in spots like this. Because like right here, you got to think all the spades got here, right? I kind of want to block him from having stuff like bottom 2 pair and bottom sets and whatnot. So maybe I am supposed to bet this. Small? 91% small bet. Glad we found that one. This is a spot a lot of people simply never bet. On the river, they donk lead us. I mean, I guess just fold? Are we ever supposed to bluff raise? Again, GTO is hard. If you're going to go play against the best players in the world, though, you better get good at it. Fold 88%, go all in sometimes. That's a hard play to find. Look at that weird play the opponent made, too. Let's go over here and see how much EV we lost. What do we have? Queen 7 of hearts. Notice we have a low frequency hand to begin with. So notice bet small and check. It loses 0.1 big blind or 0.08 big blinds, which is, you know, a little bit. It's not a lot. In terms of errors, I would call it a forgivable error. And if you are making forgivable errors, it's probably just okay. Ace 8-6. We have queen 8 of spades. Seems like an okay spot to check, but I'm sure we're going to bet some. So half check, half bet small. Good to see. Turn 10 of spades. We checked it back on the flop. Do we bet the turn now? I could be convinced small bet's pretty good here. Or medium. This is not a board where you want to bet small, I guess. So maybe we do bet medium or check. So let's just check. Notice 94% check. Whenever you have a value hand like this, you always want to ask, is my hand worth the bet sizes that we should use? And I think we're probably supposed to use pretty big bet sizes in these spots. Can we value bet river? Is our hand good enough to value bet river? If we are going to bet river, it's going to be half pots. That's the smallest bet size you should use in position. When check 2, we discussed this thoroughly in the tournament masterclass at pokercoaching.com. Please check it out. I think this one's close, but I don't think it's quite there. So I'm going to check it. 68% check, 31% bet small. Okay, cool. Good to see. The World Series of Poker Paradise is a very, very, very long tournament series. It's 14 days. So whenever you're going on a long poker trip, you need to make a point to ensure you are very, very well rested and you're in really, really good shape. Don't go out and partying the day before during the tournament, at least not all that much. Make sure you're on a good sleep schedule. Make sure you're in good physical shape. Don't show up there already wrecked. A lot of people make a point to wreck themselves before they even show up, and that is not good. Can we bet this on the flop? Oh gosh, this is a tricky one. I'm going to say check, but I could be convinced bet is good too. Oh my God. I almost clicked the bet small button. Luckily, we lost almost no ELO rating on that one because it is apparently close. On the turn, do we bluff? We probably want to have some equity, right? I mean, in position, you don't need equity. I suppose the bad queen high is probably an okay one to bluff, right? Has the overcard to the 10. Small or medium? Let's go medium. All right, medium is used a lot. Notice here, actually, overpot is used some. Okay. Strong play. It is important to also realize whenever you are going to play a big tournament series like the World Series of Poker, that if you are playing various buy-ins, well, of course, be properly bankrolled for whatever games you're playing. Maybe you need to sell action at Poker Stake or something like that. I actually have some action for sale at Poker Stake for the Triton tournament. So get in there if you want some action at no markup. Let's go for small bet. So make sure you are properly bankrolled for all the games. Also make sure, though, you realize the difference in player types you're going to be playing against, because in the $100,000 buy-in tournaments, obviously your opponents will be very different than the smaller buy-in tournament players, just because those players usually are way better because they have accumulated a much bigger bankroll. So always make a point to understand various adjustments you should make to various types of players. In the main event, a $25,000 buy-in tournament, I think we can go big here. Wow, even bigger. So there, again, I should have overpotted it to try to just get money in the pot with my hand. That's almost always good, but kind of vulnerable. Can we value bet river? Wow. So the opponent should have no twos, right? Take a look at their pre-flop range, right? They have basically no twos. However, we don't either. So the question then becomes, is our hand just good enough to jam with the ace of spades? Or should we like half pot it even? This is a tricky one. Let me know what you think you should do in the comment section down below. Commit to it. In the main event, though, I do think a lot of players who are playing for $25,000 are usually playing way over their heads. And they are really, really, really going to want to get in the money. So I'm going to make a point to try to run over a lot of those players, assuming I think that they actually are going to be weak and tight and passive. Also, they have the Paradise Parlay, which essentially means if you had 7 cashes at the Vegas World Series this year, or if you want a bracelet, and haha, spoiler alert, if you want a bracelet this year, you want a bracelet. If you want a bracelet this year, that also counts. So if I get in the money in the main event, I get an extra $25,000. They have a few other bonuses for final tabling and winning, but the min cash is certainly reasonably possible. So that would be pretty cool to get a bonus $25K. So what do we do here? Nasty spot. You know, checking is the easy play, right? Checking can't be bad because you just roll your hand over and get your equity. Betting could potentially be quite bad. To be fair, checking could be bad too because you lose a lot of value. I think the play here is to shove. I could be horribly wrong. It might be to bet small. Like this feels like a spot where it might be okay to bet small. Gosh, I really don't know. I'm convincing myself to go for the small bet. Because like what are we trying to get called by, right? I'm going to go for the small bet, but I hate this. The worst option, minus 50 ELO. We got called by the hand I was trying to get called by. Oh gosh, let's study this one. Man, oh man. That's the spot where in the real world, I think you probably do just want to bet small because I don't think you're getting called by a jam ever from a, call it recreational player. And obviously our hands are either good enough to shove or not. And it turns out that this is a weird one because we're in this spot where we don't have much of our range. But if you look at our categories here, we have straight flushes, quads, full houses, flushes, straights. Trips do not bet. Top pair does not bet. And then everything else bluffs. We really don't have very many combinations of it, right? Notice in the spot, we basically have 2.8 combos of nuts, 1.4 combos of bluffs, and that is it. And our hand is not quite good enough to jam. That's so annoying to make a blunder right at the end of this video. But that is why you study. You have to study a lot because poker is a very, very, very difficult game. I told you this spot is difficult, but it comes up all the time. And if you consistently make mistakes in situations like this, well, you're going to lose. And that is why it's vitally important that you study a lot away from the table. And going through and drilling hard and studying hard will help you with that. Also, we have an extensive section on how to play this exact spot in the pokercoaching.com tournament masterclass. Please check it out if you have not already. I also posted a recent video of me playing a similar spot as well. So go back and take a look at that one if you feel like it too. But look, I've been studying hard over the last year to get good at poker. And while I am not perfect, I think I'm in the best poker playing shape of my life. And I'm excited to go out there and try to win another bracelet or maybe even the Triton Main Event. Let's go get on the plane. I'm incredibly excited to be going to play the World Series of Poker Paradise. It's time to get packed. The trip is going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to be video blogging the experience. I'm excited to go there and battle hard against many of the best players in the world. I'm excited to interact with you, all of my fans who are going to be there. First things first, medication so we don't die out there. I was recently diagnosed with calcium in the heart. If you're over 40, make sure you get a calcium CT scan. It might save your life. I have to have my poker coaching hats in various colors. Gotta represent, gotta represent, gotta represent. Poker coaching patches, yeah. Without them, none of this would be possible. We need a phone charger for the camera, the microphone, big Yeti microphone. I get hungry while I'm out there. So we have Huel. Yum, yum, yum. Of course, if you've ever seen me play poker, I wear black t-shirts. So we have a few black t-shirts. We have a few black t-shirts. One more. Next, a Jacob & Company watch. Jacob & Company sponsors Triton. I got this when I was 21 years old, 19 years ago. Still have it today. We'll be wearing that in the Bahamas. And finally, a few black t-shirts. We might as well take my World Series of Poker bracelet, just in case we win another bracelet out there. We can have 2 bracelets in the ceremony. I'm very, very excited to be going to play the World Series of Poker Paradise. It's going to be a lot of fun. We get to battle with a lot of the best players in the world. I'm going to get to interact with all of you, my fans. Make sure you say hi if you see me. Let's get going. Yeah? What?
We drove first to the airport this morning.
Yeah.
And somehow the window got off track.
The window? What did you talk about, the window?
What you talking about, Willis?